Hi everybody, it's John back with another model inbox review. Um, what we're looking at here today obviously is a Huey. It's actually a Bell UH-1B Huey. These are often termed, as they were armed, as Huey hogs. Um, and the helicopter model that I'm doing an inbox review of today is a first for me because it's actually a Hobbyboss kit. It's one of these. If I can just click this off and I'll show you the actual model. Go through the boxing history first of all. Um, yeah, it's one of these. It's a Hobbyboss Bell UH-1B Huey, and Hobbyboss built this kit in three different boxing variants, and they re-released this particular kit another two times. But we'll go through the boxing history and show you. This was the original release boxing, which was released in 2008, of the 72nd scale Bell UH-1B. And you can tell an original boxing because I don't know if I can blow this up a little bit, I can show you exactly what I mean. Can you see under the words ages 14 plus? You've got some writing under here in the bottom left hand corner. That is actually in black writing, and the boxing that I've got here is, it doesn't say the same as what that does, but the writing is in white writing that I've got on my boxing because I've got the latest release, obviously. But an original release from 2008 would have black writing in underneath that ages 14 plus symbol in the bottom left hand corner, and I think it actually says, I'm just trying to see what it says. It's very difficult to make out because I think some of it's in Japanese. Actual something or other. I can't make out what it says, I'm sorry, but it's definitely black writing, and that would denote the original release in 2008. The kit was then released in 2008 as a Bell UH-1C with white writing in the bottom left hand corner, and this helicopter had the markings to produce an H1C variant of the Huey, which would have been the Huey Hog, the armed gunship variant of the Bell UH-1. You can actually build this particular kit from the sprue plastic that I've got in my box, but it doesn't have the decals for this particular variant. But theoretically, the UH-1B had the same airframe as the UH-1C, and so you could fit all of the armament options to it, so you could model any of the armament options that come in this box without any restrictions whatsoever on the markings that are in the box. Anyway, that's the 2008 release of the Bell UH-1C Huey helicopter. The Huey, by the way, was originally earmarked to the helicopter because it was originally called the HU-1. That was the original designation, and it became UH-1 in about 1965 when they changed the designation letters and numbers for various different aircraft in the United States Armed Forces. And it became a UH-1 from HU-1, which of course it looked a bit like Huey, didn't it, HU-1. Anyway, that's the UH-1C from 2008. These two boxes were originally released simultaneously. And then in 2009, Hobbyboss released the UH-1F variant, which also has exactly the same parts in the kit. There may be an additional sprue, but I'm not sure. I've never seen the actual parts inside this box. But the length dimensions of this particular kit are 223 millimeters, and the one that I've got is 224 millimeters, but that's because it's got a housing in front of the nose section, and you'll see that in a minute when we go through the instructions. But that's the 2009 release of the Bell UH-1F. Then Doyusha produced a Japanese self-defense force variant of the Bell UH-1B, and this kit came with, I think it came with one or possibly two different Japanese markings. And in my opinion, the Japanese option of this kit is actually a really nice, colourful helicopter. I know it looks blue, but I think it's very dark green with day-glow stripes, orange and yellow all over the helicopter, and obviously the Japanese national insignia there. Um, and I think it also had slightly different aerial antennas on this particular kit, which was produced by Doyosha, and that was released in 2010. Then in 2012, Hobbyboss again released the original Bell UH-1B Huey, but this time in an HB87228S2 variant, which included markings, I believe, for this particular variant on the side of the box. I think it's blue and white with, I'm not sure, but I think it might be Royal New Zealand Air Force markings. But again, don't quote me on it because I can't quite make out and see what's going on there. But I'm sure the information would be available on Scalemates if you needed to see that. Also, note that the original black lettering is still evident on the 2012 release. And this was released obviously in that year. Then in 2019, we've got the variant of the kit that I've got, the 2019 release Bell UH-1B Huey by Hobbyboss in 1/72nd scale. Same kit as the 2008 release from before, but this time you'll notice that this writing underneath the ages 14 plus is now in white letters. Yeah, which is definitely the variant that I've got. So I've got one of the later releases from 2019. We'll just leave you with a nice image of a Bell UH-1. I think this is actually a privately owned helicopter. I don't think it belongs to the United States Army anymore. I think it's one of these helicopters that are privately owned and used in the airshow circuits around the United States. But it's a very, very nice, clean, very nice looking machine, as you can see. There is something on this picture which is not evident in the Hobbyboss kit. There's a couple of things actually, which I'm going to show you. The first is on the top you've got like a balance bar on the top of the rotor hub here. I don't think that is evident in the model produced by Hobbyboss. There's also on the back here, if you can see it, there's actually a little protrusion from the tail unit here, and that is actually a tail light. It's a red tail light that protrudes from the lower to mid section of the trailing edge of the tail fin, and that is absent in the Hobbyboss kit as well. I also don't think there is this array of aerials on the top of the kit. It comes with a couple of aerials, but there aren't anything like that number at all. And also the windows on this particular helicopter look to be a Bell UH-1D variant doors. In actual fact, this could very easily be a UH-1D, but it's got the upper engine cowlings of the UH-1C and B, which makes me believe that it might be a hybrid, if you like, owned by a private collector. Anyway, we'll just pan the camera down and let's have a look at this kit, shall we? Because I've got a couple of things to say about this particular kit. It's an interesting little model. This damn camera doesn't want to sit there properly, does it? Right, I think that'll do, I think. Anyway, the box is quite a large box. There's my hand in front of the box. You can see it's around about twice the size of my hand stretched out. On the top cover you got a medevac version from the United States Army. There are two variants in this kit. This is one of them, and the other one is a different type of helicopter altogether, which isn't shown, but that's the variant on the box cover. You can see on the side there some information on the Bell UH-1B Huey, and Hobbyboss, of course, is a Chinese company, and there you go. Copyright 2019. This is definitely a 2019 release. I didn't realise Hobbyboss was a Chinese company. I thought they were from Korea or somewhere. On the side you've got the serial number 87228 and the scale company logo, and on this side you've got the alternative colour scheme available in this kit, and we'll go into that in a minute. You've got some other information here which is in Chinese, various different languages, and that's definitely in Chinese. Interesting. On the back you've got a repeat of the other side. Yeah, nice sturdy box. Hobbyboss do pack their kits quite nicely, which is good. And this one's no exception. You've got a nice lithograph here. What I'll do, I'll just put this down here and have a look at that in a minute. We'll have a look at the sprues in a minute as well. Put those onto here and then onto there, to there. That we'll be looking at in a minute after I've looked at the instructions. That's the paint plan. Right, the instructions are A4 size. You've got on the front a repetition of the front cover in black and white. This looks very heavily photocopied. On the front you've got some please read information before operation, which is you read the safety instructions before you start to build the kit, and that's in Chinese. And you've got some build icons here, which are quite handy. If you're not a complete imbecile, then they're not that more of a hey. There's just something to let you know and remind you what you have to do throughout the build of the kit. The method of applied to decals, that's also shown on the bottom of the instructions, but it's no different to any other plastic model kit that you get run of the mill. And then on the back you've got a lovely sprue guide, and I'm a really big fan of these. They help you identify the parts you're looking for. The interesting thing about the Hobbyboss sprue guide or screw plan here is that there are no ID of any of the numbers on any of the parts on it. Actually, is that true? No, there are. If I zoom this into the camera, you can see each one of the sprues, if you like, the sprue branches has got a part number on it. I didn't notice that before. And then you've got the part sprue ID, sprue A, B, C, D, and G, which is the glazing, and you've even got a a decal sheet plan there, which is quite nice as well, with all the numbers on it as well. So that's quite nice. So that's a sprue plan. That's quite nice. Actually, well done, Hobbyboss. I thought you'd messed up there, but you hadn't, so I apologise for that. And then when you open the plans up, and this is the first criticism I've got of this kit, the plans, they use the flow method of plans, but they don't segregate the sub-assemblies from the main assemblies, and it's quite difficult to ascertain how the flow works. But I think you'll find that you start in the top corner here with the forward section of the cockpit assembly where you build the seats, the instrument panel, the blind visor for the instrument panel, rudder pedals are in there as well, and then it flows to the right where you build up the rear section of the cockpit floor pan, the cabin bay floor pan if you like, and then it flows again to this picture where you've got the rotor hub assembly here. It shows you where it goes, and you've got the installation of the forward seats, not the actual pilot seats but the cabin forward seats, and then you stop here and then go back over to here, and this is the fourth drawing where you have a first thing I notice about the Hobbyboss kit is it actually gives you three different options for the interior of the helicopter. You've got this, which is either a cargo or is it an ammunition storage unit for the miniguns or rockets or something, or it might just be cargo storage, I'm not sure. They don't really tell you. But you have to open up some holes on the floor to actually put this into place. Or you've got some sort of drum here, which I'm not sure what it is again. Is that a fuel, additional fuel, or is it napalm? Is it spray? I've no idea. They don't tell you. They don't give you any indications to what it is. But the only thing I definitely do know what it is in the third option where you've got the rear seat. And yeah, that's fine. And then you stop again and go back to the weapons options, and the weapons options are here. Now, is that really the way they intend you to do it? Because to me, I would build the interior, have the interior ready to build, and then insert it into the fuselage halves, and then build the fuselage up before you start looking at the armament fit. So maybe you stop here and then move across to the fuselage assembly. I think that's probably what they mean. It's quite vague, actually. It's quite difficult to understand exactly what's going on and what they intend you to do. And that's the first criticism I have of this kit. I'll tell you a few things in the summing up as well about what the pro builders and IPMS reviewers think about this kit and another quite easily to obtain model, which often is slightly cheaper to buy than this one. And I have actually built one before, and I'm going to pass judgment on the kit after I've built this one and compare it to the other one. Anyway, but you've got the cabin here, which is a complete cabin arrangement with a little blade aerial and a I think that's a UHF aerial in front of it, or an AM aerial, and then you've got the tail skid in the back, the tail rotor. The tail rotor does not have any retaining pins, retainers or anything, so that tail rotor will probably not rotate. Then you've got the stabilizers, the doors, they have individual glazing in, and the engine cowlings, which are separate parts for both sides. And then you've got some antennas that go on the nose there, you can see. Yeah, and the handrails on the rear tail section. And then you go to what looks like building the options for the armament fit. And this thing comes with a form of rocket pack, a rocket pod installation. That's the rocket pack there. That's the rocket pod here, both sides. And then you've got a different type of rocket pack, which is a square one instead of a pod mount. And these look like ammunition feeds, but they're not. They're actually struts to hold the rocket packs. There are no miniguns or any type of machine gun in this kit. They're all rockets, different types of rockets on this particular model. And they build up in sub-assemblies here, like this. And then when you get to here, you can see that there's the three different types that you install on the helicopter, and then you proceed to build the rest of the helicopter. You've also got another sub-assembly here which is missing on the other model that I'm going to mention later. This is some sort of housing that goes on the nose, as you can see here, and then your forward glazing, which is a one-piece glazing unit that glues into this position here, and then the skids go on. And oh, actually you have got a balance rotor. I didn't realise that. I never saw that. So again, sorry Hobbyboss, I didn't realise you had a balancing part for the rotor hub, which is nice. I am going to mention what the IPMS guys think about this kit and what the IPMS guys think about the other kit that I want to mention, which is the Italeri kit with the WH1B. Nice lithograph here. You've got the initial colourway of the Medevac version. They're both Vietnam serving options, probably around about 1964 for this one as well. The other one is definitely 64. And on the other side you've got what I think is a really nice colourway. It's sort of a lizard two-tone green and light tan colour option, and that's the aviation company Vietnam during 1964. This would have been probably an evaluation helicopter that would have been used to ferry and experiment how to use the helicopters in the service to ferry troops in and out. And the helicopter was an incredibly versatile way and very efficient way of moving troops in and out of combat zones and extracting casualties for Casevac, if you like, Casevac operations. Yeah, so that's the two lithographs. I quite like the look of those lithographs. They're quite nice. This here, it looks like there's some part hovering around the rotor hub. It's not. It's actually the dip, which is incorrect in this kit. If the rotors do that, they're wrong. The WH1B rotors did not dip like that. They actually they held quite a level grade, if you like, throughout the whole of the rotor. They didn't dip down like a lot of helicopters do. And the reason for this was because they needed to clear the tail boom. And the only way they would clear the tail boom was to be mounted higher out of the rotor hub to bend pretty close to level with it. If you see any photographs of your Bell H1Bs and your H1Ds on the ground, you can see that this is the case. The seesaw rotor did not bend like that, but they're showing that it does. I'm guessing the plastic parts inside the kit won't bend like that either. What I'm going to do, I'll just get a pair of scissors out because I want to show you these decals. Cut these. Every sprue and every plastic part and the decals are all individually wrapped in a plastic packaging. And the decals, there's a plastic packaging for the decals. The decals have got a nice little dust sheet over the top, and they're sellotaped into position, which is weird. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to see if I can do this without damaging the decals. I should be able to. Just cut this one section of sellotape away so I can open the decal sheet and show you. The decals on this kit, yeah, they're not cartograph, but they're not bad, are they? The register on those stars and bars is really nice. They're quite vibrantly colourful, which they should have been in those days. The yellow tail band and tip bands, they're pretty much the right colour. And these decals, they're not raised. They're quite flat to the sheet. The backing film is absolutely transparent, and the register on those decals are really nice. And I think those decals will go on really nice. I'm quite happy with those. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pop them back into this little plastic sheet just to keep them dust free, and then pop them into the instructions sheet if I can. There we go. Pop them into this instruction sheet like that, and then we'll get sprue A and the transparency sprue out, because I always go through the sprues starting with the transparency sprue. Just cut these bags open. I like how Hobbyboss package their kits. I think a lot of companies could learn from the Chinese and the Japanese about how to package models, because Academy do it from South Korea, Tamiya individually package most of their kits, and Hobbyboss do as well. And I think these, it just stops parts rubbing together and ensures the quality of the product a little bit better. Right, I'll have a look at this part first. Now the glazing, let's take this out of the equation. The glazing is really nice, isn't it? Can you see that? It's the two doors and the forward nose section glazing window section, which is really nice. And you're probably thinking to yourself, where's the side door windows? Well, the side door windows are in this part, which is the whole of the front of the canopy section. Now, I'm actually a fan of this, because one of the issues I have, and a lot of people have said this to me who build helicopters, is that the windscreen often needs filler, and it's very dangerous when you're sanding filler down over a glass windscreen panel. And that looks really nice. I like the look of that. So well done. It's a nice crisp looking part as well. So well done, Hobbyboss. Well done indeed. I'm quite pleased with that. Just pop this back into here as well, because I don't want to get these damaged. These parts are really nice. This is the first time I've ever built a Hobbyboss kit. I've never really fancied the idea of a Hobbyboss kit, because a lot of their models are simplified construction. The part assembled, some of them are pre-painted, but this one isn't, and it's very, very nice indeed. Now then, sprue A is the fuselage sprue, and it comprises of these really nice looking, again I want to try and get that out of the equation and see if the camera will focus on this, because this fuselage has got some really nice surface detail, And one of the things that I was really surprised with this kit, and the camera's not going to pick it up, of course it isn't, is the fact that it's got recessed rivets. Now I don't know whether that's a good thing or whether it's a bad thing, but the Atalieri kit that I have built before of the UH1B had raised rivets, and they were a bit pronounced and overdone. But this kit looks really nice, doesn't it? Yeah. The internal detail on that back panel there is quite nice. The inside of the fuselage is pretty bereft of detail. There's not a lot going on there, but to be honest with you, a lot of the detail is what's on the floor. You've got the tail rotor balance tab there, and the main rotor balancer there, and the tail rotor. That's the gearbox for the main rotor hub. And the doors, floor pan there, which is nicely detailed again. You can see the detail. Yeah, it's nice. Seats, bits and bobs. Detail on that piece there, you can see it's quite defined, isn't it? They've got a lot of fine detail on these kits, and I like the way Hobbyboss cast their parts. This kit doesn't appear to have any flash. There is absolutely no burrs. There are some tabs to trim off, but there's no burrs, there's no flash on any of these parts whatsoever. You've got the, let's cut this off very quickly. This is the engine cowling sprue. And it comes with the horizontal tabs for the tail there. Can you see those? They're quite nice. I'm going to have to get this out of the way because it doesn't like focusing on any of these parts. There we go. The tab on that, they're the horizontal stabilizers. And then you've got the engine cowling parts themselves there. You can see them. And then, whoops, sorry about that. They're quite nicely detailed as well. The detail on the surface there, quite nice, aren't they? This part on this particular kit is moulded into the part. On the Atalieri kit, I think it was a separate part if I remember right, and I had a bit of bother seating it. The Atalieri kit has fit issues, but apparently the reviewers reckon that the Hobbyboss kit is an easier build in terms of not giving you any problems with fit. This is the next sprue, which I think is, whoops, God, these scissors are terrible. I think I need to invest in some new scissors, don't I? This sprue, I think, is all to do with the ordnance loadout. And again, the parts are nice. Look at those rocket tabs. They're lovely, aren't they? It's just the quality of the casting. The casting on this kit is absolutely superb. Look at the detail on those parts there. No flash whatsoever. It's crystal clear. Very well defined parts. I like the look of those. So that's that sprue there. It's basically just the rocket packs and the pod rockets. And then we come to the next part, which I have a gripe with. And it's a pretty big gripe because there's a couple of things wrong with one of these parts on this sprue. Well, in actual fact, there's three things wrong with the same part. And one of the things you're never going to believe. And I know it's true because I've measured the damn part. Through the plastic bag I've measured it, and I know it's wrong. I've scaled it down and everything. Right, first of all, quite a nice instrument panel there. Can you see that? That'll paint up nice, won't it? Some more internal detail parts, and that's that funny weird arrangement that goes on the nose. They're the pilot seats. Quite nice. Rotor hub. It's not bad. It's quite good. Small detail parts. They're quite crisp, aren't they? No issue with any of them. There's that blade aerial that goes above the cabin. The skids. quite nice as well. They're not damaged. They're very nice. I like the look of them. And then we come to the problem, the major problem I have with this kit, the rotor. There are actually three things wrong with this rotor. The first is that for some God knows reason, you've got some sort of pyramid feature in the middle of that rotor hub that faces upwards. That's the hole that the rotor shaft fits into, and then above it you've got this sort of pyramid moulding. That is not on the real helicopter. The real helicopter has actually got a hole in the middle of there that two shafts pass through to affect the operation of the counterbalance weight above the tail unit itself, the rotor unit itself. The second thing that's wrong with this is that, can you see there's like it's a defining section to the rotor from the hub where the rotor is glued and then screwed onto the rotor hub with nuts and bolts. But you've got this feature here. Can you see this feature here? Well, I built the Italeri kit of the UH-1B, and that feature on the Italeri kit is spot on. On this one, it's bereft of detail. There's no detail on it whatsoever, and it should actually have 7 or 8 little chamfered, lowering down to the tail to the rotor itself, features on those two bits there, that bit and that bit. And this kit, it's completely flat. There's no detail, there's no ruching, no nothing whatsoever, and that is a fault on this kit. And the last thing is also the Italeri kit is guilty of this as well. The rotor hub, the main rotor diameter on the Bell UH-1B is 44 feet. And if you scale this rotor by 72 times larger, it comes out at 40 feet. And the Italeri kit has made that mistake as well. And I think the reason why that might be is because they may have used a rotor from a different type of UH-1. Don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% sure, but the rotor length, the rotor diameter on the UH-1B was 44 feet, and if you scale these down, they're only 40 feet, so they're too short. There's also no trim tabs on the rotor itself, which is really bad. Unforgivable, actually. A company should have put trim tabs on the rotor blade itself. There should be one one here and one here. They're like little rectangular blades that sit protruding from the trailing edge of the rotor, and they're not on there at all, which is a shame. You could, of course, put a couple on. It wouldn't take much to put a couple on, but to make that rotor the correct size, you'd have to get a donor kit and chop, I would say, about, I would say pretty close to half an inch of rotor, an inch of rotor at each end, to make up the 24 inches. No, it'd be half an inch, wouldn't it? Half an inch at each end added to the tips of this rotor hub. But that's the major gripe I've got with this particular kit. The rest of it I'm really pleased with. The actual quality of the parts, they're really, really good. As I said, they're crystal clear. There's no flash, there's no burr, there's no abnormalities in the plastic. It's a really nice, well made plastic kit. So looking forward to assembling this. Now then, according to the Pro Builders and the IPMS reviewers, the Hobbyboss model is easier to assemble than the Italeri kit, but the Hobbyboss model has more misrepresentations and is not as good in accuracy as the Italeri kit. Don't get me wrong, the Italeri kit it's no angel, do you know what I mean? Actually, the other thing I wanted to show you before I pack up, I can do it through the plastic hopefully. Can you see on the back of the tail unit there's no rear light. If you look at any photograph of a UH-1B, there should be a rear lamp that comes out the back of here on the end of a small shaft, and it's a red light and there's also a unit that holds an aerial that comes out the top of the tail boom, and that's completely missing out of the Hobbyboss kit as well. And there's also a balance tab on the tail rotor, which is missing on this kit too. So there are a number of abnormalities and things that just aren't on the kit at all, which is a shame. Anyway, that's the sprues done. We'll just get through the gumph. There are a couple of options which I think are quite interesting. So we'll go through. I've kept the options and costs down to 1/72 scale. We'll just give you that image there to show you whilst I read this stuff out. The kit we're doing an inbox review on today is the Hobbyboss Bell UH1B Iroquois. It's scaled in 1/72 scale with a serial number of 87228. The original release date was 2008, but the boxing I've got is a 2019 release. Now there are decals for two versions. The first, which is this one, is a Bell UH-1B serving the US Army Medical Detachment Unit in Vietnam circa 1964-65, and the second is a Bell UH-1B, which is this one, a Bell UH-1B serving the 117th Aviation Company, US Army, based in Vietnam in 1964. I like the camo pattern on that, but I'll probably do the medevac version. I think I'll prefer the look of the medevac version. Now, in total, there are 108 parts on 4 light grey plastic sprues and 5 parts on 1 transparent sprue, making 113 parts in total. The dimensions of the kit: 7 inches long by 2.5 inches high when it stood on its skids, and 1.5 inches wide with a rotor diameter of 6.75 inches. Options and costs relate only to 1/72 scale helicopters and of Bell UH-1Bs, Cs, Ds, Hs, Bell 204s, 205s and AB204, AB205s, which were the Augusta Bell license built variants of the UH-1. If you have any interest in any different variants, it's worthy to note that the Bell UH-1N was actually a different helicopter altogether. It was the Bell 212. Which was a twin-engined variant of this helicopter, and the Bell 412 is a 4-rotored variant of the Bell 212 with a slightly redesigned fuselage. So we're only sticking really with the helicopters that use this basic layout for an airframe. And the standalone kits, again I said it's 1/72 scale, the standalone kits, Ace Hobby did a Bell UH-1D, which was really a Bell UH-1B. That retails for about £20 to £25. Aeroplast did a Bell UH-1H, which retails for £5 to £6. Air Model did a VACForm variant of this kit, which also included a UH-25 Boeing Retriever and a Bell UH-1B. That kit, I haven't got any details and pricings on that, and I haven't seen any on sale anywhere online. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be quite expensive because it will be rare. AMT Ertel did a Bell UH-1D, which retails for £15 to £20. Ishii did an Augusta Bell AB205 Transport and an AB205 Ambulance and 2 separate boxings. They retail for between £25 and £33. Ishii also did a Bell UH-1D Huey Hogg helicopter for about £30. And they also did a Saigon Tet Offensive gift set. No details available for that, but again, I haven't seen that advertised anywhere online, so I'm guessing that kit will probably be in excess of £100. Hasegawa did a quite nice Bell UH-1D and UH-1H in separate boxings throughout, right from the 1970s to modern day. That kit retails for anything between £6 and £20. Hobbyboss, the subject of this kit, did a Bell UH-1B, a C and an F. They retail for anything between £13 to £22, but the F variants tend to be the cheaper of the options. Intermodex did a Bell UH-1D Huey Hogg. No details on pricings for that, so I'm guessing that's probably quite rare and dear as well. Italeri did quite a nice Bell UH-1B, a UH-1C, a UH-1F and an Augusta Bell AB205. This kit is quite easy to get hold of, and it's not a bad offering at about £8.80 to £16. Italeri also did a Bellew H1C and an MI24D gift set of 2 helicopters in the one box. This retails quite reasonably at £20 to £25. They also did an Operation Silver Bayonet Vietnam set, which retails, I've seen this on Amazon recently, for about $74.99. So I'm putting a price on this because I've also seen one on eBay today for £50. So I'm putting a price of £50 to £75 on that particular boxing. Mr. Craft did a standalone kit with Bellew H1D HEER, a UH1D Medivac, and a UH1H SAR variant. These retail for between £9 and £15. Don't know what the quality of these kits are, but being Mr. Craft, it's probably pretty poor. Phoenix Calcomanias did quite a rare offering of a Bellew H1H, a Bellew H1P, and Sud Aviation SA316 Alouette 3, and a MIL Mi-17 HIP helicopter, all 4 helicopters in the same box. No pricings available on that, but I'm guessing that's going to be dear as well. Revell also did a Bellew H1D HEER variant, a DSAR variant, and a UH1H for about £8 to £20. It's not a bad offering, I've heard. Revell also did a Bellew H1B and an AB204 firefighting snap together kit, and this retails for anything between £25 and £35. The Revell boxing of this kit is quite rare. Sky High also did a Bellew H1D, which was actually a UH1B/C helicopter kit. No pricings on that, but again, it's quite rare, so it's probably quite high in price. Now, these kits are reboxed by a number of companies. Atlantis did the Bellew H1B and AB204 firefighting snap together kit, reboxed Revell model. This is available for about £29 to £35. Bilek did a Bellew H1B, which is a reboxed Italeri kit. No pricings on that, but it's probably about 20 quid. Diusha did a Bellew H1B reboxed Hobbyboss kit for £20 to £30. Ertl did a Bellew H1D and Augusta Bell 205 transport helicopter kit, which is a reboxed Ishii model for £25 to £28. Ishii Ertl also did an Augusta Bell 205 and a transport variant and an ambulance variant in 2 separate boxings. They were reboxed Ishii kits for £40 to £45. Ishii Scalecraft also did a Bellew H1D Huey Hogg, which is a reboxed Ishii kits for about £25 to £32. Hasegawa Hales did a Bellew H1D, which is a reboxed Hasegawa kit for £7 to £15. And Hasegawa Shaban International did a Bell CH-118 Canadian Transport Stroke Medivac helicopter, which is a reboxed Hasegawa kit. No pricings available on that, but it is incredibly rare. So I would say about £40 if it came up. Italeri also did a Bellew H1D, which was a reboxed Ishii kit for about £13 to £26. Kiwi Colours did a Bellew H1D in Royal New Zealand Air Force colours, which was a reboxed Hasegawa kit for £10 to £15. Revell Ishii did a Bellew H1D, an Augusta Bell 205 transport, and an Augusta Bell 205 ambulance in 3 separate boxings. They were reboxed Ishii kits for £12 to £25. Tamiya did a Bellew H1B, which is a reboxed Italeri kit for about £30 to £65. Yes, somebody has paid 65 quid for this kit before. Testers did Bellew H1B, an RAH-66 Comanche, a Boeing AH-64D Longbow Apache, and a Fighting Helos gift set comprising of those 3 helicopters in the one box, reboxed Italeri kits, and the RAH-66 as a reboxed Revell model. No details available for publication on those. Sevezda also did a Bellew H1B/C in 2 separate boxings, which were reboxed Italeri kits. No pricings available on those. Now, conclusions. Got a couple of things to say about this. This kit has very, very nice surface detail with fine panel lines and rivets, and the parts are very clean and flash free on the sprue. The rivets are even recessed rivets, which is really surprising. Interesting that there are 3 different interior options and 3 different armament fits with only 2 different decal options. But again, there's no pilots, which seems to be the norm these days. But I do like the look of this kit, and I am going to try and give it my best shot. There are quality, it's not quality, there are accuracy issues and feature issues with this particular kit, which mainly house around the tail fin and the main rotor hub and rotor itself. But the kit looks really nice, and I am looking forward to having a go at this. Anyway, that's the inbox review finished for the Hobbyboss 72nd scale UH1B Huey Iroquois. I hope this video has been of some use. If you have any queries, questions, pop them in the comments box, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. I hope all your projects are running really smooth, and thanks for tuning in. I'll see you for the next one. Bye bye.